crowd. It was nice to meet the Secretary of Commerce. It was nice to meet that crowd.
Is that automatic?
It is 7 o'clock, we have a quorum, I will call the Scottsdale County Board of Commissioners meeting to order. And ask Ms. Commissioner Cole to have an invocation.
May we bow our heads, please? Almighty God, we thank you for another opportunity to serve you. We thank you for this beautiful April, and we ask for your guidance and direction in making us do the right thing and stop the kind of people. Amen. You said that,
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Need a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Have a motion
Second.
and a second. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. I don't know if anyone has signed up to speak tonight, so is there anyone here who wishes to address the board? If not, then we'll move on. I need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Have a motion
Second.
and a second. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. All right, we will hear now from Ms. Carlotta Rivers. And also Ms. Stanley. Sorry.
Okay, good evening. Mr. Chairman, may I report? Okay, so this is the annual Child Fatality Prevention Team report, and Ms. Wendy Stanton will be doing the Community Child Protection Team annual report. And just to give you a brief overview with a little bit of history, in 1993, the North Carolina General Assembly established a network of local child fatality prevention teams across the state to confidentially review medical examiners' reports, death certificates, and any other records available from public and non-profit public agencies in the community. So our teams are multidisciplinary, and it involves the health department staff members, DSS staff members, law enforcement, guardian ad litem, the school system, and other community agencies that provide services to children and families. So the purpose of this report is to give you a summary of the causes of death, the number of cases reviewed in the calendar year of 2018, and any recommendations that the team came up with for prevention of any future child deaths. So your role, again, is to receive the annual report and also to receive any recommendations that the team comes up with collaboratively, and also to approve the members in place. And I must say, this is the first time in many years since I've been involved with child fatality that we have every position filled. Our longest vacated position was the daycare position, and that was recently filled by Jenny Taylor of Terrific Kids Daycare. So, in 2018, Scotland County CFPT reviewed 4 child deaths, and 1 system problem was identified. So, this child death was due to prenatal condition or asphyxia. This child was found co-sleeping with the parent on the couch. So our recommendation was to continue to provide educational information to the community about the importance of avoiding co-sleeping and maintaining a safe sleep area for children under the age of 1. So the health department will continue educating on the importance of safe sleep through monthly parenting and breastfeeding classes, as well as clinical staff and health educators, participants who choose to receive a PAC and and play, which of course the requirement is to attend the parenting and breastfeeding class, who are part of the OB Care Management Program. They will receive counseling on safe sleep. And also, the ongoing education is also echoed in the community through the OB floor at Scott Memorial Hospital. Everyone echoes the same message of safe sleep. So our CFPT activities and accomplishments, we meet a mandatory 4 times a year. However, we put in an extra meeting because sometimes we don't get records in a timely manner, or there may be cases that we need to revisit. So we add on an extra meeting in October to revisit any cases, should we need to. Individual reports were completed on the child deaths, and then they are forwarded to the state coordinator, who is Brenda Edwards. And we also completed the CFPT activity summary, and that was sent in on March 18th, 2019, from the previous year. Local CFPT members participated in Scotland County DSS's annual Family Fun Day, and the health department had a tent, and again, we educated on safe sleep, and we had a demo set up to show participants that what a safe sleeping area should look like and what it should look like. We had a pack and play, and we also had a picture, so the pack and play had toys and things in it that shouldn't be there. That's designated as a safe sleep area for the child. And also, myself being the acting chairperson and the review coordinator, Mrs. Gwendolyn Clark, attended the North Carolina Child Fatality Summit on April 9th and 10th in 2018 in Raleigh. And this is something that they wish that they could continue on an annual basis. This is the first time that they had this summit, but again, funding is a factor. So as of yet, they have not had that meeting this year. And also, local team members participated in the spring outreach on May 4th, which included a review and demonstration of safe sleep, educational information with attendees, and that included a demo of the safe sleeping area as well. So in 2018, Scotland County had a total of 5 deaths. 4 of those deaths those children were under the age of 1. And 1 of those children was age 4. The causes of death, 2 were due to extreme prematurity. 1 was burst asphyxia, and that was the child that was found unresponsive, co-sleeping with the parent. 1 child was diagnosed with myocarditis, or inflammation of the heart muscle. And 1 child was, the cause of death was accidental drowning. And with this case, as you heard me say, we had 5 deaths, but we only reviewed 4 because the accidental drowning, as you know, we do not review cases that are due to abuse or neglect. In this case, underwent intensive review by state DSS personnel, which Ms. Stanton may speak about. And that's all from me.
Good evening. My name is Wendy Stanton. I'm a program administrator with Scotland County DSS. I'm standing in tonight for the director, April Sneed. As Ms. Rivers just reported that during 2018, the Scotland County Community Child Protection Team meetings were held in conjunction with the Child Fatality Team. We had a total of 5 joint meetings throughout the year. As opposed to the child fatality, the Child Community Protection Team is a team that is derived from people, from cases that we currently have open, whereas we have not had a fatality, in order trying to prevent further problems, reaching out with different communities. So we presented 10 cases during the year. Of the 10 cases presented, 7 had primary issues of substance abuse within the family, 1 was based on inappropriate discipline, and 2 were mental health concerns. It should also be noted that each case may have had several contributory factors resulting in neglect identified in addition to the primary contributory factor. To address the community recommendations and initiatives suggested by Ms. Rivers earlier and by the CCPT group, a joint subcommittee group was consisting of members of both to help, and we've held additional meetings throughout the year. This upcoming year, the CCPT will, through the subcommittee, We'll continue to work with the health department on suicide prevention campaigns, and we will specifically work on child abuse awareness, education, and prevention. And that concludes our presentation.
Anyone have any questions for?
I'd like to ask a question about the drama. You can tell the outcome of the investigation and how.
Now, we cannot disclose the outcome.
Any more questions? Wendy, thank y'all, appreciate it very much.
Mr. Chairman, we do need to, I have a question, but we have action that we need to take. We can do this now.
Right.
Included with the presentation of the case studies, you also have the committee members that serve on both of these boards, the CCBT and the Child Fatality Team. All these members are currently active, and at this time of the year, it's necessary for us to reappoint them to that position. So I will not read all of those names, but I will make a motion that we reappoint the current members of both of these committees for another year of participation.
Thank you. You've heard the motion, I need a second. Have a second. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. How are you this evening?
I'm fine, sir. Thank y'all for allowing me to present. I'm Regina Dees, the Juvenile Crime Prevention Council Coordinator. Jason has provided you in your packet the legislative intent about juvenile crime prevention. The monies that are allocated to Scotland County, $152,332. The council has to do a risk assessment every year about the risk and needs of the children here in the county. Then we determine what kind of services are needed that aren't already being provided, what the gaps are here in the county. So we got data from the assessment committee to develop a request for proposal. That request for proposal was advertised on February the 9th and closed on March the 12th. We received 2 requests for money, and it was the 2 programs that had been previously funded. We had no additional requests. That would be Partners in Ministry and Scottsville Youth. The council met on April the 11th, and the funding committee gave a presentation of how those monies should be taken care of. The administrative budget, $11,390. Community service restitution, which is a Scottsville Youth program, $41,710. Scottsville Youth substance abuse, Freedom Safe, $5,750. Youth empowerment, that's Partners in Ministry, $30,610. Parent and family skill building, Scottsville Youth, $44,365. Teen court, Scottsville Youth, $18,507 for a total assignment of $152,332. I'm before you tonight to ask that this is what the council is recommending to you for the monies that have been allocated by the state to come to this county. And I provided Jason with a copy that Mr. Davis, I would ask that you would sign if you all approve this budget. Any questions?
One question I had, Regina, when I looked at it, I couldn't remember last year's budget. Is this pretty similar to what was out?
It's the exact same budget.
That's kind of what I thought.
Exact same budget.
Any more questions?
It's good programs.
Thank you.
And let me say before I sit down, before I leave, I'm going to leave, thank you for your service. Being servants is something God blesses, so I can't bless you, but God can. Okay.
Thank you, we appreciate it.
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we approve their budget.
We have a motion.
Second.
Have a second. Any discussion? All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. The budget's approved. All right. You're up next.
Well, you know, I think Jason supplied you with the list of the currently owned foreclosure properties in the county, and there's 76 of them.
How many did you say, 76?
76 total, and that's CDU anywhere in the county. Some of these date back, actually the first 32 that are on the list date back to 2016 and before, are the deed dates. Quite a few of these, most of these, I think 14 of those properties have homes on them. And I verified myself that 10 of them, if not 11, one was in question, are occupied. And that's just those from 2016 and before. So, you know, of course, I didn't go up there asking any questions or whatever, but I didn't think that was the time and place for it. But I guess, you know, these are finished foreclosures. And I'm not keying out just the 116, I just thought that was an odd year, but I got a lot of experience in that, so of what you do with these kind of properties and what you should do with them. And I know some of them there's issues with it. You know, some of these blank parcels are next to a home that the property line runs through the garage of the house next door. Those type of things that have to be figured out, ironed out, whatever the case is. I do know, after talking to Mr. Johnson, that none of these processes were used in the NREM process, which is a different foreclosure in North Carolina for tax foreclosure, because that's a different process and there's a lot of exposure to who does that. So they are all handled by a commissioner, if you will, is the person that handles, you know, the attorney that did it. You know, I guess my big thing here is there's, you know, there's $506,000 worth of building value, tax value in these properties, and about $300,000 in land value. And not to say that if you sold all 75, you're going to get that out of it, because you're probably not. But my thing is that we probably need to look at the easiest way to get rid of these, the fastest way we can, at whatever that number is, if nothing else, just to get them back on the tax roll. Because that's 76 properties, and 32 of them that's been over 3 years that haven't been on the tax roll. And that doesn't even cross the bridge of these that are occupied. And like I said, the one, I've been to them, I've been to the house, and there are folks living in these houses. There's a couple of them that it could be, it may not be. You know, and a lot of this is land, but still, even still. I just think I wanted to bring it up because, like I said, there's almost 45 acres of just land in this that's sitting out there that we need to look at. And, you know, after we get this topic out of the way, do we need to look at a front-end procedure on these? And there may already be one. Do we, you know, should we even take that, you know, the old gas station with oil tanks, do we want to really even take that and assume that responsibility? But my biggest thing about it when I looked at it was just the number of properties that are there. And it would not have stuck out as much as it did if it wasn't for, you know, like I said, the first 32 on that list go back to the D dates of 2016. And I think the oldest one on there is 2012. Let's see. Well, the line numbers didn't come over with the Excel sheet, so I can't tell you which line to look at. But I know that I have been to the ones that do have homes on them. And like I said, I think it was 12 of those first 32, and at least 10 of them are occupied. So that just throw up a big question mark.
We have talked about, and I think county managers in the process of lining up a sale with Iron Horse. Is that not right, Kevin? Have you talked to them about that?
And with this, we did one last year, the year before, but they were primarily in the city. So after we get through budget, probably looking to do another auction for all of these. Some of these have been auctioned off. We'll have to go back in and figure out why somebody's still in them.
Well, that may also be a problem.
But we'll wind up with any of these plus any other properties that we collect in between now and this summer. We'll go through the process of auctioning off all of them. In the past, we used Iron Horse auctions. It's just one of the simplest ways of doing a mass auction.
I agree. I don't, trying to do it individually.
On the list, the last auction, that just didn't sell.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I understand that. I mean, and I don't know what the bottom number that you put on it. Do you put on it the tax value and what's owed plus the fees? I understand trying to do that, but in some of these cases, that's not what you're going to get out of it. So it should be low bid or high bid, take it and get it back on the tax roll, if nothing else.
Well, that's kind of what we did before.
What was it? Was it 3 years ago? Is that-
About 2 years ago.
And it was, we've had a couple of auctions, and it is high bid, as some of these small lots. We actually lost money on the auction because
sure,
it would be $100 for a bid.
Right.
But yeah, getting them off our books is the goal. One thing, we're also starting to go back through and check some of these homes also. In the past month, actually, we had Public Works go off and look at some of, 2 properties, and actually we demolished the structures on the properties.
I actually saw them doing the one out on Leisure Road
Yeah.
when I went by that one, so.
Because they were just
You
in-
couldn't even hardly see it anyway.
Yeah. And actually, when they were demolishing that, they found the home on the property right next to it that you
They
could
didn't
not
even know
see.
it was there. Well, the one, if you go down on that first page and if you look under the acreage, it says 4.9 acres.
Mhm.
Those are actually 2 lots. It says an A and then there's another number below it. That's actually 2 lots. And that is a well-maintained home that is currently occupied with a new Cadillac sitting in the front yard. So,
Okay.
that was just, that stood out to me more than anything about them being occupied, because who assumes that responsibility? Or is it just the fact that it was sold and the deed didn't get properly filed, or whatever the case may be, but either way, it's not on tax roll. And I think we need to work on getting them back, whatever, sell it, do whatever we gotta do to get it back on there. And, that's
Yeah,
really
we
all.
have a speculative date as to when you hope we can do another auction.
I don't at this point in time.
That's fine.
Um,
We got a budget, we got.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
I
with that,
understand, I don't.
yeah, but with that, we'll go back through, and we'll probably do an additional reach out on some of these homes to make sure that they realize they don't own. And also that the banks that realize that they don't own.
Well, the ones I did, I will say the ones I looked at the deed on them, and this is not an attorney doing this deed search, but none of them I saw that were occupied, tax foreclosed, had bank liens on them.
Okay.
So,
Now, the banks usually will pay them off.
because the banks will usually pay it, they're not gonna let it go.
So, but with that, we will probably bring these back, all these properties back in to the board after budget's approved for the commissioners to surplus it and begin the auction process.
Okay.
Which will take a couple of months to go through all that.
Perfect.
But we will identify some of these properties that are still occupied.
Yeah, the auction is done online. Tim, thank you for.
Yes, sir, no problem, thank you.
All right. Yeah, we'll talk about the foreclosed property bid.
Okay.
We'll talk about that.
Yes, sir. Actually, in Laurel Hill, on the bottom left-hand corner is the Laurel Hill Community Center, just for reference. We have a property which is in the blue, which is adjacent to
Huckabee Grove.
Huckabee Grove Church.
If you know where it is.
I do.
They have made an offer on the property, and it is our standard policy that contiguous landowners and heirs or family members of previous owners can make a bid on the property for taxes owed and lost on the property. The church has made a bid on this for $7,084.89. We recommend that the commissioners accept this, and we would start the upset bid process for this property.
You want to make a motion?
Yes, please.
I move that we accept that 7,000, how much?
8489.
$7,084.89.
Yes, sir.
Second.
There's a motion that we accept the $7,084.89. That's Ms. Betty.
Second by Larry.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Okay.
We will begin advertising this process, and this will come back to the board next month for final approval.
Kevin, item 6.
Next item, our zoning officer is retiring effective June 30th. And with that, it is up to the board to appoint map review officers for this. We're requesting that the board appoint Thomas Milligan, Paula Lewis, and Brooke McQueen map review officers. There is a resolution to this fact in your agenda. This resolution also revokes all previous map officers' authority effective July 1 as well.
You need a motion for that.
Yes, sir.
So moved to
Have a
approve
motion.
these officers.
And a second. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. All right. Call.
This evening, we need to consider reappointment to the Tourism Development Authority. That board, the members of that board are fairly well designated to represent tourism, hospitality, and hotel industry. And the three gentlemen that you see on the screen, Mr. Ron Riggins, Dan Smith, and Glenn Batten, have put in their request to be reappointed for another term on this authority. So I'll make a motion to approve these three individuals.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve Ron Higgins, Dan Smith, and Glenn Batten to serve on the TDA board.
Question. How long terms, because I know these same people been on there for years. When we reappoint other people?
The biggest problem, Clarence, is that you have to be in the hospitality or tourism or hotel business to serve on this board. And that's a dictate by the general statute that authorized the TDA authority. I agree, these gentlemen have been on there. Mr.
I've been
Batten is
on
new.
about 15, 20 years, but just these same people been there ever since I've been on the board.
I agree, but we have not had any names that represent those industries come before us for us to approve. We did approve a new member last year, Mr. Tony Spalding on the board as a new member, and Glenn Batten is also a new member. The other two have been on for some time. I understand your concern, but we don't have members that represent that industry that come forward to serve.
I don't think they're
If
aware.
you know of someone.
I don't think they're aware. Really?
People are aware of it, thank you.
So, but if you know someone in the hospitality or tourism or hotel business that you think would be a good appointment, please encourage them to apply. That's how we get new members to all our boards.
Anything else?
That's all.
Anything else? All in favor of those three gentlemen, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Okay. All right, so you have a resolution for support of East Point. You recall, and I've read on that a little bit.
This came to me a little bit late, but our CEO of East Point, Sarah Stroud, asked that the Scotland County Board of Commissioners consider this resolution. It was included, you got an email from Jason late in the week. I hope all of you have read it. Just for a little bit of background information, currently there are 7 LME MCO organizations in North Carolina. And the DHHS Secretary is looking at a reorganization of those 7 entities as to how Medicaid behavioral health services will be delivered to our citizens. We have been a part of East Point since it merged when we were previously with Southeastern Regional Mental Health. This resolution, I will read it if you want me to. If you don't, I will not. But it just basically states that with the intention of Scotland County for us to be maintained in the East Point catchment area. That will be for the benefit of the consumers that are receiving these services and for the providers. if the secretary and her commission and committee, they have the authority and they can say, well, we're going to take Scotland County, we're going to put it in another MCA. That will create a level of a lot of confusion, maybe lack of service delivery for people that are familiar with East Point. So I asked Ms. Stroud to send us this resolution for our consideration so that we can put forth what our intention is for the citizens of Scotland County. Do any of the 6 of you want me to read it?
Well, if you think that we can, stay with East Point would be for is best, but I don't understand East Point, I'll be honest with you. I can't really say I understand East Point and the way their service is rendered.
Well,
Maybe I need to sit down with you and you go through A, B, C, D, whatever, explain to me this, how it is delivered. Because I was on the mental health board in Lumberton for a long time.
Well, that was 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
East Point it functions like an insurance agency, like Blue Cross Blue Shield. And the providers provide the services in Scotland County. There's probably over 20 providers in Scotland County that are affiliated with East Point. But there are no direct services that come from East Point, just like there are no direct services for health care that come from Blue Cross Blue Shield. You get your service from a provider, and those providers have to apply to be a service provider with East Point. So it's a managed care organization. It is not a behavioral health service delivery organization.
And maybe that's why it's kind of confusing.
And I agree, Betty. It's confusing for citizens, it's confusing for us, but it is far beyond the control of any board of commissioners in North Carolina to rearrange any of that. You're right about that. But I think it would be more confusing if we wake up and we find out that we've been put in another organization and we've got to learn a whole new system of service delivery for our citizens and for the providers. So this is the resolution that you have in front of you. My recommendation is that we support this resolution. It will go further from here to the secretary when they are determining how the state of North Carolina will be divided into behavioral health service delivery organizations.
And just for clarification for me, they're currently 7, and they're going to reduce it to?
There is the potential to reduce it to 5.
Or?
Well, I've been told 5.
Okay.
But
And there's no guarantee that East Point will be one of those 5?
There is not.
That has not been determined yet?
That has not been determined, and that's what this resolution is saying. Leave us as we are and let us be one of the 5.
And leave us where we are and let East Point be one of the 5?
Yes. It's sort of a duality there, right?
So that's your recommendation. I will make a motion to that effect.
Motion, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Have a second, any more discussion? If not, then all in favor of supporting this resolution, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. All right, Kevin, county manager report.
Okay. Again, most of these are just simple updates. The first thing is water and sewer extension has been executed. The notice to proceed was issued effective today. The company executed all the required filings and is in current status with the Secretary of State. That was a requirement before the contracts were executed. And we confirmed back with, we had copies of the actual filing from them. The deadline is 180 days for construction window. There is property that we need to have an easement for. The landowner is in California, so we are we're playing hide and seek, phone tag. We're having fun communicating with an absentee landowner. But that's procedure that we're working with.
Is that going to involve condemnation?
Hopefully we can, as long as we can get permission, it should not. But if we can't, we will have to sit down and have a conversation with you about the need to condemn. And we are talking about a utility easement across 400 feet of property. So it would not be a mutually agreeable process, would not take difficult time. And if we can get in contact with them, or if they return our contact, it shouldn't take long, because the city of Warrenburg there are already several utility easements on there, but they're so narrow and the separations require we could not use one of those utility easements. But we will probably need to start a conversation about the need to do a condemnation on there. Anyway. Also, the Lumber River Council of Government is working with UNC Pembroke to do a broadband study of the region. They do have a grant. There is a matching requirement for it. For Scotland County to participate, they do the Council of Government does a pro rata share on their matching according to population. For Scotland County to participate, the cost is $1,934. I've already told the COG that we are interested in participating in this.
That's a lot of money for a study. Now, I don't know how in-depth the study is, and you multiply it, you get about six counties involved, right?
Yes.
That's an expensive study.
Yes, and actually it's because you have Robinson, which is significantly higher than this. The total local match is about $15,000, I believe. So it's a...
What does the study comprise of?
It basically goes back in and it looks at the possibility, the presence of high-speed internet access as well as the affordability of internet access in the six-county region to determine where the actual needs of it is, how much of it is the need of extending the physical presence versus how much of it is need to figure out ways of offsetting the cost of it. So, but it is an 80-20 match for the program.
Probably a heck of a cost, though, when you really get through with the study and begin to, set up this and all these kinds of things. It's going to be a heck of a cost, isn't it?
Yes. If you look at the entire thing now, if it goes off and it can give us the possibility of guiding, the state has utility grants that they can provide to internet providers that they don't provide it to a government, but they'll provide it to an internet provider who will come into an underserved area and extend out. And this is one of the things, a study like this could be one of the things to hopefully attract internet providers into the area.
Like Kevin, our cost is $19.34.
Yes, sir.
Robinson County, like I say, is bigger.
Yes.
The cost is more, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Did you know that the six, Cumberland's not one of the six?
No, it's Richmond, Scotland, Hope, Robinson,
Blaine, Columbus.
and Columbus.
So most of the counties in the same boat we're in.
It's much, based on population.
I expect it. Get some high speed and with
Make that motion.
Yeah, I made that one.
Second.
You need a motion, Kevin,
David made it, Clarence is second.
I'm behind that.
That's
All in
okay.
favor, let them know by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign.
Okay. Also, just an update, paving projects are proceeding. Covington Street, they finished the paving today. They will be striping that parking lot this week, and it should be finished. The government complex, they finished the paving in front of the health department. They started working behind social services. However, they also had a water line that ruptured, so we had a pond back there. So rather than the cost of undercutting the wet material out, we're letting it dry. we're also getting prices to go ahead and replace the 40-year-old concrete pipe in there that could fix the item, because otherwise just having the equipment rolling back and forth across it could easily cause a concrete pipe to break again.
That one in government complex appears to have a good drainage system. The one that they
Yes, sir.
finished, it looks good.
Yes. And the one that will be in the front of, on the right-hand side, looking at the building, will be a similar design. They're not going to be identical just because they're slightly different sizes, but the other one, they are adding slope into both. Also, County Assembly Day is May 8th, which is Wednesday. It begins at 9 o'clock. We will be meeting at the Emergency Operations Center at 6:30. We'll travel up there. We would expect to be finished by 2:30. They're not having the afternoon mixer. So they are having lunch. And we have contacted our legislators, as well as invited them to lunch on the mall. So if you are able to go, we will meet at 6:30 at the Emergency Operations Center.
When do you estimate the total completion of Covent Street projects, and we can have some type of open house?
The renovation of Covington Street for this phase will be complete as soon as the parking lot is complete this week. Finance has already moved back in. Tax office has not moved in. We were going to wait till the parking lot was finished and schedule it. We could have an open house anytime after this week, but tax office will not be. Probably looking for a goal of having the tax office in there by the end of June would be goal. That way they can hopefully move before they get tax bills out, before they have to send tax bills out. Otherwise we'll wind up with more chaos there.
What do you do when everybody's where they're going to be, so that the people in the county will know exactly where the offices are located? So let's wait until everybody's in place. I'm going to give us ideas.
The other item is the budget work session scheduled for May 23rd. Looking at standard dates, beginning at 9 o'clock, we'll be at the Morgan Center. We will be working on the agenda and sending it out before the meeting. If there are any specific topics that you want to discuss at the agenda, please let me know or let Jason know.
Will we get a copy of what you're proposing for that, so we have time to look it over?
Yes, sir. As soon as I have a proposal,
I got you.
I will send it out.
Even a rough.
Yes, sir. So I'll send out a summary as soon as I have it. That will cover at least the highlights of the agenda of my recommendation. Also with it, of course, we are required to have a public hearing on the budget. The first meeting in June is June 3rd. The advertisement for the public hearing has to be published at least 10, but not more than 30 days before that date. So we would actually have to send the publication notice to the newspaper before the 23rd. To get the publishing and get the dating in there. It does not specifically require action by the board. but I just wanted to find out if you wanted to have the public hearing at the June 3rd, or if you wanted to go ahead and schedule that for a second meeting. In the past, we've had it at the first meeting, even though the budget could still change, and has changed in the month of June. But that way you have, you're asking people to come to a public hearing at the regular location. Versus if it's on June 10th, that would be the regular Board of Education meeting.
But don't we, my memory is that we have a public hearing at our regular scheduled June meeting. I think that's what we've done traditionally for the last
Yes.
few years. But then we would have a second, we don't approve the budget, we can approve the budget
Correct.
if we choose to. But the last few years, we've had a second hearing later in the month, maybe toward the third week of June.
In the past,
Is that how you
Yes.
remember, is that right? Okay.
yes, we generally, we always plan for a second meeting in June.
So do we want to set that date tonight? So that we can, or do we want to wait and do that at the June 3rd meeting?
I think we normally do it for June
Okay,
3rd meeting.
all right.
We are remembering.
That's the way you remember doing it? Okay.
Did we do that last year? I thought we did it all in one meeting.
We did have a second meeting last.
Yeah, we have a second meeting.
It shows on my county calendar already. That I didn't put there.
Of June. And
June 24th, 7 to 8. Whoever puts all that stuff on my county calendar, put that on there.
It's not popping up on, I don't know why it's popping up on yours.
Oh, I get everybody's doctor's appointments.
Talk to that fellow on your left.
Gotta take the dog to the
Okay.
vet.
that is probably the exact reason we've populated just a tentative date.
And that is the logical date that we would go on past.
Yes. So,
What's the second date, 24th, is that what
June 24th. And that was just looking at what we've done in the past. That gives time to make modifications, as well as you still have that week if there's still additional tweaks you wanted to do to approve.
Well, the public hearing, if we have it on the 3rd,
Yes.
tell me the purpose of that.
It's a legal requirement to have a public hearing.
On the budget recommendation,
Yes.
will we actually, if we're not going to start working on it until the 23rd, we will be given the notice of a hearing on the recommendations that we have not yet prepared.
Correct.
But will they, I would assume that by the time we get to the 3rd, we will have a budget to present.
Yes. And also with that, of course, the hearing is on my recommendation.
From
So-
the information that we give you on the 23rd.
Correct.
How is that distributed made available to the public?
As soon as we have, as soon as I have the budget, or budget, of course, assuming the media will be at the budget retreat, but thereafter, as soon as I have my recommendation, I'll be finalizing it after the 23rd, making modifications, and then once I finalize that, that will also come with a budget narrative that I'll present. And the proposed budget and the narrative will be made available as soon as it's ready.
And if you can, from past history, if we meet on the 23rd, you're talking about a hearing that's going to be basically 11 days later.
Yes.
Approximately during that 11 days, would you believe you would have something that the public could see? Halfway?
The goal would be to have it halfway. My goal is to have a balanced budget. It will not have to have all the fine tuning, but my goal is to have a balanced budget to you by May 23rd. It will not be what you want to see, but it will be balanced. and then whatever modifications you request in between that time, I'll look to make. But also with the disclaimer, because in the past, we've had that, and I've still brought back a budget in June that y'all still did not want to see. But the budget that's presented at the June meeting is my recommendation. After that, you take it and approve it as you choose.
Kevin, I know you don't have a crystal ball. Do you anticipate that we'll have a state budget by June 30th?
Of what year? No, I
Really,
don't.
because if we don't have a state budget, then we can't reoperate on the current budget.
Correct. I would expect that, I'm not sure exactly where the Senate appropriation level is right now compared to the House. By then, we'll have a good understanding of where the House levels are, and we will know 98-99% of the budget by then. There will be a few items, there will be the controversial items that will delay the budget, but it will be less than 1% of the budget.
Can we approve our budget without a state budget being approved?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I'm trying to find out.
Because sometimes the state budget isn't approved until August and September. We can't wait.
But we go ahead and approve our budget. We balance our budget.
You're required to.
But we're required to, when we go into July, we're operating on the 19, on the 18-19 budget.
But we're required to have it done by the 30th.
Yes.
Are you looking from us confirmation that we want to have the public hearing on the 3rd?
Yes. Before we ordered the advertisement, I just wanted to make sure you didn't have any specific heartburn with having that on the June 13th.
I think that's something we can just agree on. We don't need a motion. I'm okay with that.
Because there's still time, we got to come back on that later date.
Right.
Yes.
We got the whole month of June.
We can pretty much rest assured that the June 3rd budget
If we
will
don't.
not be the final
It'll be a
budget. If history is any indication, it won't be the final budget.
No. And that is all I have.
Miss Betty, you got any?
No, sir.
Share with us, Clarence?
No, sir.
Tim?
Yeah, I would like to say, Jason, Kevin, whoever did it, both of you, about the Scotland County YouTube channel is up and running. I think he has 1 month commissioners, or maybe 2 by now, already on the channel. So fairly easy to get to, and I think there's another video about from maybe Parks and Rec or somebody on there also. So up and running. And I tested the closed captioning myself on it, and there was a few times that we ruined something that he couldn't figure out what we were saying, but it's mostly it worked great. So,
That was, Jason took care of that.
there you go.
Bob, just a comment, I read the minutes of the last meeting. Jason, you did a really good job on this.
Brag on him too much now.
I'm gonna say.
Albert, you got anything?
8 months.
I got one thing I'd just like for us to consider is, there's a bill where they want to privatize the ABC system. If that comes about, then the county's going to lose a good bit of money based on what I know about it. So there is a resolution in existence, and I have a copy of it that I'm going to ask Jason if he would scan it in and send it to each commissioner tomorrow. So if those of you that go to Raleigh can stick it in Senator McInnes's hand and also Garland Pierce's hand. The bad thing about it is they're going to dissolve all the little ABC stores, yet the ABC Commission who's looking after all this mess and causing all the problems, they're still going to be in existence. So it's not going to change from that standpoint. All it's going to do is cause the counties to liquidate their ABC store. And then all the Walmarts and whoever else can open up a liquor store. And I think they'll be able to sell liquor from, say, 7 o'clock in the morning till 2 o'clock in the morning, whatever. So, I want to sell liquor 24 hours a day. Anyway, I just would like for y'all to look at that, and maybe in our June 3rd meeting, we can agree to support that resolution to not support the privatization of the ABC store.
I forgot to ask, I'm so sorry, I don't want to prolong the meeting, but I forgot to ask Calvin to explain just a few lines of what Senator McInnes has come up with in trying to help get this water out of this county. This water's on private properties and, the ditches and the caused by the flood and all that. I heard on the radio, would you, in a few lines, explain what is going on?
What he's looking to do, there are 12 counties that he has identified in the southeastern part of the state that he's put in a bill that would actually take $1 million per county, $12 million out of it, and an identified fund that is under the governor's discretion. And that would allocate $1 million for each county, wherein the county would have authority to basically contract out to clean out ditches that are currently on private property. So we have a lot of ditches that we've had, just where there are pine trees that are 1 foot or 2 feet across growing in the bottom of the ditch.
Yeah.
Down in Leisure Living, of course, it was flooded for months. We finally got, USDA told us to go ahead with it. Now, on our local match dollars, we actually, our public works crew finally went down there and cleaned out a ditch. They worked with the city of Laurinburg to clean out a drain tile under Leisure Road. And actually, within doing that, within 24, 48 hours, the water dropped 6 inches. Now, if you go out there, there's one parcel that's still back in the back that probably still has water on it, but the rest of the neighborhood is dry. Well, they don't have standing water in it right now.
Well, tell me, Blakely, on Blakely Road, is there a ditch back there where that can be drained?
Blakely Road.
Was that consideration in y'all went through and looked?
That's one of the areas we're looking at, and if we can get the funding, if there's a way that we can figure out to get that water to move, we would, because that water and the water across on Stubbs Road, that's all connected. Of course, there's a creek that's actually winds up being uphill with Blakely Road. But if we are able to get some funding, we might be able to go in and find some way of draining out some of that aspect. But right now, we don't have the funding and we don't have the legislative authority to go on private. The county does not have that authority to go on private.
But once that, we do have that authority, and we do get that $1 million, we can hire some experts to come in there and take care of some of these situations.
Yes. That would be one of the things that we look for, try to find ways of actually getting in to it. And also where there's areas where we know it's just a ditch, it's just not been maintained, even if it's a one-time property, one-time funding, and we're able to clean out the ditch, assuming the landowners don't continue to maintain it, that's still going to give you 10, 20 years of benefit until the ditch are back in the same boat that they are, if the landowners do not do that.
What's the time frame on it? Is this part of the budget?
It's a separate bill. It's been, Senator McInnes has introduced it.
Well, I'm sure Christian will be doing it. Really, I am.
Buddy, I went by that house on Blake, but I can't remember that man's name, but that water's gone.
White,
I don't know
white.
if he did anything to.
Is it gone?
It's just gone, right? Well, it was gone before this weekend. Right?
Really, it's finally gone.
Yes.
I'm scared to go by there. I'm scared you're gonna go and rub it
I thought
out.
maybe somebody had done something because all of a sudden it was gone. Maybe the water level just dropped.
That's great. I'm glad.
I'm thinking about a duty to thing because behind it,
Well, that's
it's
true.
all private property. There's no ditch, as you asked, if there was a ditch, there's no nearby ditch.
And also behind that is the large solar farm, so I think it is actually, we got into more than 2 days in a row without rain. And warmer weather and wind and vegetation starting to grow again are the primary factors for Blakely Road drying. Because I'm not aware that anything else happened.
Well, not like maybe not to extend again, but I also noticed that Steve's Grove recycling site was dry in
Yes.
Losing that is it. And great, again, that was before the weekend, that's
Right.
what we got, so I hope we'll get closer to getting that.
And that's actually going to be one of the topics that we'll want to discuss on the 23rd, about a long-term solution for that as well.
Anything, Ms. Betty? Anything else for anybody? If not, then I'll entertain a motion to go into closed session according to North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11A, discussion of economic development incentives.
So moved.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Opposed, like sign.
I want to give you something to give your payroll clerk. It's in my car. I'll be right back. I'm going to go to my car.
We'll do a public hearing first.
Yes.
All right, we're back in open session. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion that we approve the,
Public hearing first.
I'll second it.
no, not the, I have a hearing.
Oh, we need to have a public hearing. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know whether you heard.
I have to have two of them, one for each.
We're going to hold a public hearing on the two proposed economic development incentive packages. One of them is Dancing Bear and the other is Apple. So if anyone here wish to speak in favor of or in opposition to? Hearing none, I will close the public hearing.
Jason, do we need to have one for each? So we need to have that was for Project Dancing Bear. So now we need to have a public hearing for Project Apple.
Okay. Then we'll hold a public hearing on the economic development incentive package for Project Apple. Anyone here wishing to speak in favor of or in opposition to? Hearing none, we will close the public hearing. And now I need a vote to approve the economic development incentives for Project Dancing Bear.
So moved.
Motion and a second. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. All right, then we need a motion to approve the economic development incentives for Project Apple.
So moved.
A
Second.
motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. All right, Mr. Ward, what's next? Is that it?
That's it.
That's it. I don't have all y'all email address, but I've got the official press release. Jason does, and he will forward all that to y'all this evening. We asked the media to do one day, one the next day, only for PR.
And they agreed to that.
And they did agree to do that. So tomorrow they are going to announce and do a press release for Project Apple. And then the next day or the day after, they're going to do another press release statement for Project Dancing Bear. We just get a little bit more exposure. Fayetteville Observer, WRAL, and State Economic Development newspaper, I can't remember what the website's called, all of them have been sent the press release. So hopefully we'll get a lot of publicity on Project Apple.
And it'll be on the county website.
Yeah, what?
It'll be on the
County
county website.
Mr. Chairman, I move we adjourn.
Recess.
Recess.
Till 27.
23rd at 9 o'clock.
May 23rd at 9 o'clock.
9
I'll
o'clock
say.
at the,
Do you anticipate most of the day?
at the Morgan Center.
Most of the day.
Carol, did we finish? Did we?
Yeah, we're recessed, Betty,
Okay,
until May the 23rd at the Morgan Center.
Are you going to call on the 22nd for the, what is it called, Jason?
What's that?
The training, for the elected official training?
Oh,
Are you going,
the
Carol?
ethics.
Yes. I'm
You
going.
going,
Yeah.
can we ride together? Cause I don't know, I never been to call New Brookfield.
Okay, come, yeah, call me. Let me, what, I'll be glad for you to ride with me.
I'll come to Lawrence.
Yeah.
I got you. Thank you.
Signed.
Okay.
He's already signed.
I'm already.
He's already signed the
What
letter.
day does she
Okay.
drop?
Good. In the resolution.
Betty, hang on a second, I'll walk out.
Okay, all right.
I was instructed not to go anywhere until he come back.
That's right.
And don't date us.
That's right, you just signed.
Just sign.
You have got it, so you did your
Yeah, I won't be back. I get back.
That one is your signature as well.
Oh, wow, okay. I've been in it, but it's winter time.
Yeah, I
Merry
went,
Christmas.
I went in the winter and I will never make that mistake
But it's a
again.
beautiful thing to see.
It is, but I will never. That's cold.
Bye, and then we'll print
We didn't
you.
tip
You
it
sign the top.
cold weather. It was cold.
Oh, it was minus 13 when I was there. And
No, it wasn't near that cold.
conversation
about tomorrow.
When did you go?
That's the only place.
January 5th?
5 years, twice,
That one.
right, the week before Christmas.
We were there 2 weeks before Christmas. It was cold.
And actually, one of the
It was like
things,
New York cold, it was
I
not
did see
extreme.
that he's talked to.
Well, yeah, I would have, yeah, I don't like that either, but I don't.
Now, last year we went in May, it
My
was nice,
response was-
but it got cool at night. But I'm going back, this is the baby's first birthday.
Stacy, can you,
He's about 2 hours north. We were the closest,
where?
Urban North. Grafton Beer is where the base is, which is on the Czechoslovakia
I've
line,
had conversations
So
with
it's
him.
north and to the east.
north and to the east.
Where the situation.
Yeah, I used to fly to Frankfurt, but that's because American only flew direct to Frankfurt. Now they have a direct.
I'm through with it.
Now I fly
I
direct.
don't have anything to do with it.
I fly direct to Munich now.
Yeah, that's the big thing.
It's all policy.
Mom, I'll see you tomorrow afternoon,
See y'all later. 6:30
Wednesday morning.
on Wednesday morning. 2 more.
Which one go to Raleigh?
No.
Jason, Clarence left his package here, apparently, so you might want to clean
We
this.
should have mentioned the legislative breakfast Friday morning.
Oh, yeah, that is Friday. Yes. And there's, are you going to the one tomorrow? The Rural Development Association luncheon at the Storytelling
No, I've got 3
Center?
other things to do.
At the Storytelling.
You say pink?
No, I
That's
saw that and I've got
Yes,
to.
only on that resolution is pink.
I'm gonna try to do that one. Well, I've already done the
I'm not,
tickets, so.
and I'm gonna see here and you finish Wednesday.
Thank you,
Yeah,
sir.
I
I'm not.
I do believe that's all of it.
I'm good Friday.
Here's your pen.
You can go, but since I'm gonna see them up close and personal Wednesday.
Which one was
I don't
that?
need to see me again.
That's,
Grant?
Yep.